All right, welcome. I am going to, considering we were a little rushed yesterday and today, just thought I would kind of go back over this, provide you with a video that you could sit and watch that maybe would be helpful to you for working on the homework and stuff from either last night or tonight, depending on which class you're in. So just as a recap, right? So we were familiar with the right triangle and all of its features and stuff like that. But, we want to pay specific attention to this. This is theta, the Greek letter that we use to signify an angle in trig and also in physics. And this is going to be really important because we're going to really pay attention to where theta is, because where theta is going to determine which side is the adjacent and which side is the opposite. Okay, so if I am here at theta and I have to go across, and I have to look across my triangle to the side that's given, then this is the opposite side. The adjacent side, it makes up the angle with the hypotenuse, okay? So the adjacent side is the side that's next to, and the side that is opposite comes up here, all right? This is the big chart that kind of lists out all of the ratios, right? Sine is equal to opposite over hypotenuse, cosine, opposite over hypotenuse, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent is opposite over adjacent. Again, laying out if the angle A, or in this case what we would call theta, is here, then that's opposite and this is adjacent. All right, so we started to get into this into class, and I'll just go over it again here, right? So we're talking about SOHCAHTOA. I can't even spell. All right, and how we are looking at this. So from this angle, theta, I start going around the triangle. I look here, there's nothing here. I go over here to the 3, and I have something. And in order to get to that 3, I have to go across the triangle to that 3. So that is opposite. So if I come over to SOHCAHTOA, I have an O here, and I have an O here. All right. And then I continue around my triangle and I get to the 5. I look at the 5. 5 is opposite of the right angle. So that means this is the hypotenuse. So this is an H, and an H. And I'm done. I've accounted for all 3 sides of my triangle. I look at my SOHCAHTOA and I find and see that the only thing that I have dealt with is the SO. Right? The only thing that I have 2 of is the SO. I don't have 2 in the ka, and I don't have 2 in the toa. So my equation that I'm going to be using is the sine of theta is equal to the opposite over the adjacent. All right? So I fill in what I know. Well, sine is the function. Theta is my variable. I don't know what that is. The opposite is 3, and the adjacent is, sine opposite over hypotenuse. I don't know why I wrote adjacent. I apologize for that. All right. And we get 3 over 5. Now, before we continue, one quick thing is you probably already picked up that this side is actually 4, right? Because it's a 3, 4, 5 triangle, Pythagorean triple. A squared plus b squared equals c squared will help you figure that out, but we're going for the angle here. So I talked about in class how in order to actually do this, I need to do the inverse sine. And what that does is that undoes the sign on the side with theta, just like if I was adding or subtracting or multiplying or dividing, and it moves it over to here. But it's going to be sine to the negative 1 of 3/5. All right? If I plug that into a calculator, all right, and you could also just, 3/5 is 0.6, so you could type that in as well. You will end up with 36.9 degrees. Okay, so that is this answer right here. I already have my other side, so I just need to know this angle here, and that angle there, B, is just going to be 180 degrees, right? Because the interior angles of a triangle add up to 180. 180 minus 90 minus 36.9. So that's going to be 90 minus 36.9. And that is going to be 3.1. 53.1 degrees. All right, so I have found all of the extra information that I have needed for my triangle. All right, let me just review with you quickly how to do that inverse sine thing, right? So we come over here to the triangle, we hit inverse, you see how it switches to sine -1, and it's going to go to sine -1, and I'm going to do 3 divided by 5, close my parentheses, and equal, and there is where I get my 36.9 from. Okay? So coming back to the Jamboard here, let's move on to the next problem. Let's see if we can just do this one time. All right. There we go. So now I have a tree, and I need to figure out its height. So I'm going to write down SOHCAHTOA. And I'm going to go about figuring out what information I have. So here's my angle down here. There's my theta. So I'm going to start going around the triangle. I have nothing here. That would be my hypotenuse. All right, then I come over around the triangle, I have my H. In order for me to get to the H, I need to go across my triangle. So that is an opposite. And then I continue around to 45, and that 45 helps make this angle. So that is going to be a tangent. Okay, or that means the 45 is an adjacent. And the only one that I have 2 of is tangent. So no cosine, no sine. So let me just write that out. Tangent of theta is equal to the opposite over the adjacent. So I fill in the information I have. Tangent of 59 is equal to the opposite, which is H, over 45. Now, I mentioned in Monday's class and in this little session after Tuesday's class that we could take this tangent of 59, and if that was really bothering you, you could change that to a decimal. So if I come over here and I clear out my calculator, and I do tangent, clear, of 59, I get 1.6643. Okay, 1.6643. So I could change that, and I could write that here. 1.6643. All right? And that is going to be equal to H over 45. This is now algebra, right? Here is my trig. And this is my algebra. And you should be able to solve that. You should be able to go through and be like, hey, well, I can do that. That's multiplied by 45. I'm going to multiply this by 45. Age is equal to, and you end up with 74.9 as the answer. Okay? So, let's go on. Here we are again. To use a different color, maybe we'll do black this time, all right? So, here's my angle, 42 degrees. I start going around my triangle. Here I am here, so 40. That 40 actually helps make up that angle, so that means that's the adjacent. So if I, again, kind of use my little protocol here to help me figure out what I have, that's adjacent. So I go down my list, I have an adjacent and I have an adjacent. I continue around my triangle, I get to D, and in order for me to get to D from that angle, I need to go across my triangle. So that means it's an opposite. And I get around to the hypotenuse, and there's nothing in the hypotenuse. So I go back to my mnemonic here, and I see, well, I only have one in the so, I only have one in the ka, and I have two in the tangent. So that means the tangent of theta is equal to the opposite over the adjacent. The tangent filling in my knowns, 42 degrees, is equal to D over 40. Okay, I'm just going to keep the tangent of 42. That's just the way I prefer to do it, but if you want to change it to a number, feel free to change it to a number. And I'm going to multiply that by 40. And I'm going to multiply this by 40. And these are going to cancel. And I'm going to have 40 times the tangent of 42 is equal to D. I'm going to go to my calculator, and I'm going to clear this out, and I'm going to do the tangent, clear. Let's do 40 times the tangent of 40. 40. I'm going to hit equals, and I get 33.6. So D is going to be equal to 33.6 meters. Okay. Let's go on to the next one. Ski slope. So here we are. Here is our, right? And let's choose red since we have a red triangle here. Right? Here is my triangle. Right? It doesn't matter which way. Elevation. So this side here is 5,018. 5,018 down here. And the elevation of here is 5,500. So now at first glance, it seems that I have two unknowns. I have a D and I have an X, and I have 20. So let's follow our protocol first, okay, to figure out which trig function we're using. So katoa. All right, I start at the 20, I go around, so this D here, this D is opposite the 90 degrees, so that is a hypotenuse. So I don't think we're going to be using TOA or tangent for this one. Excuse me. I get to the X, and in order for me to get to the X, I need to go across my triangle to get there. So that is an opposite. And then I come around to this side, and there's nothing here. I'm not looking for anything. I don't know anything, so that's it. So I look back, and I have just the sine. Cosine is not, tangent is not. So sine of theta is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. Okay? So from here, we need to figure out what we have. So I know I have 20 degrees. I have D, but X. Do I know this X? Well, I know that down here is 5018, and then up here is 5500. So that's pretty simple. That's just multiplication, or subtraction. 5500, and it helps if I write everything. 55, 5, 0, 0, minus, what was it, 5180, right? 5180 equals 320. So this equals 320, but it doesn't equal 320 because I did it wrong. All right, it's 5018. So 5500 minus 5018. My pen has, wow. 500 minus minus 5018. 482. So this equals 482. So this is, with respect to the 20, that is going to be my opposite side, and then my hypotenuse is D. So the sine of 20 degrees is equal to my opposite, which is 482 divided by D. All right, now, again, that's our trig. Trig is all done. Now we're just working on algebra. So I need to get the D out of the bottom. So I'm going to multiply both sides by D. So D times the sine of 20 is equal to 482. Now I need to divide by the sine of 20. This is where maybe having the number sine of 20 as a number makes a little more sense, and I'll do that over here for you, just so you see. All right, we end up with 482 sine of 20, and that means D is going to be equal to, so we need to do 482 divided by the sine of 20. 1409.3. D is equal to 1409.3 feet. So that is the length of the ski slope. All right, almost a third of a mile, a little bit more than a third of a mile, I guess. All right. So I want to point out to you the one thing here that's happening, right? So if I come back to my calculator first, and let's just figure out what is the sine of 20 degrees. Sine 20 equals 0.3420. All right? So, picking up from here, right? 0.3420 is equal to 482. Now hopefully you can see that makes a little more sense of like, oh, hey, we divided that because we divide it, because it's 0.342 times D. So I'm going to divide this all right, by 0.3420, and I'm going to divide this by 0.3420, and D is equal to 1409.3. Same answer. But more importantly, what I want to point out to you is that notice what happened. The D and the number just switched places, right? We end up right, look at right here. The D and the sign switch place. So whenever I have a problem with the variable on in the denominator, I can just switch it with whatever's opposite equal sign. Okay? Alright, one final problem. This one is a little more fun, okay? Notice that we have two triangles going on here. And you're like, Mr. Winchell, you've gone off the deep end. I have, absolutely. Alright, so I'm going to trace one triangle here first. Alright, and that is the triangle I'm going to pull out here, and I'm going to draw that separate. Okay, so this is 29 degrees. This is whatever the... This is 60 feet. Okay, and notice that it doesn't have a variable here, right? It doesn't have a variable here, so they used h up there. I'm going to use this as x. All right, so let's work this around our protocol. So Toa. I'm going to look at this angle, 29. I've got nothing here. That would have been my hypotenuse. So that's interesting, because if I don't have an hypotenuse, that's quick, right? I don't have either of these guys because those both have hypotenuses in them. So this must be a tangent. So the tangent of theta is equal to opposite over the adjacent. So filling in what I know. Oh, I know the angle. That is 29. I don't know my opposite. That's my variable. And my adjacent side is 60. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 60. So 60 times the tangent of 29 degrees is equal to x. So let's go figure out what that is. Clear. 60 times the tangent of 20, was it 20? 29. 29 equals 33.3. All right? So x is equal to 33.3. Now, let's go after the other triangle. All right, this is the big one here. This is the red. We'll go all the way up to the top and back down and across here. All right, so I'm going to draw that down here. All right, and this angle is going to be 53. Okay, degrees. This is still 60. And the side I don't know, I'm going to call it y, because we already used x over here. So let's call this y. All right. And we're going to write our protocol down here. So Toa. All right, and starting at my angle, I have no hypotenuse again. So that means if I don't have an hypotenuse, I can't have sine, or I can't have cosine. So I have to have tangent. All right, so tangent of theta is equal to opposite over the adjacent. So the tangent of 53 degrees now is equal to opposite y, right? Because in order to get to the y, I need to go across my triangle over the adjacent, which is 60. So just like we did before, all right, we're going to multiply 60 times the tangent of 50. So 60 times the tangent of 53 is equal to y. So go to our calculator, clear 60 times the tangent of 53 equals 59.6. 79, excuse me, 0.6. Equals y. So I have two answers here. The first question is, what the heck? I was only asking for one answer. And two, are either of these answers even the answer that they were looking for? Excuse me. And the answer to that is no. They are not the answers that I'm looking for, but I needed to. All right? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back over here to the drawing. I'm going to switch to the black so it shows up a little better. So remember what I did, right? I took this and I made this y to here, right? And then I made this from here to here x. So what happens here is we end up with this system of equations, right? And I have this difference here, right? I have y is equal to h plus x, right? In order to get to the whole height, y is going to be equal to h plus x. Well, I know what x is, and I know what y is, so that means I can solve for h. 79.6 is equal to h plus 33.3. So we're subtracting 33.3. And 6 minus 3 is 3. 9 minus 6 is 3 is 6. 7 minus 3 is 4. And that is equal to h. So the height of that balloon, all right, the height of the balloon is 46.3 feet. All right, so there you have it. There is the how we do this. If you have any further questions, feel free to reach out and ask, and or sign up for office hours. All right. Hope this helped, and have a great day.